Welcome back. You're watching France 24 and it's time for Media Watch France, or a look at the national press here. James Creedon has the latest. Hi, James.
Hi, Lana. How are you?
Good, thank you. And we're still talking about today and yesterday's big news, Muammar Gaddafi's death. There's been a lot of debate in the French press over whether it was right to show some of these pictures, which were very difficult.
Absolutely. I suppose yesterday, if we were looking at people being jubilant about what happened to Muammar Gaddafi, today there's a kind of, I suppose people are taking a step backwards and saying, hey, how was this covered? Now, we saw that the rolling news channels, as you said, did show the pictures. There was criticism of that. Let's have a look at some of the front pages of the papers as well. Around the world, here in the UK, you've got The Times, you've got The Mirror, you've got other papers like that who did, if I could kind of go down and show you them, various papers did show that image, a very gruesome image, in fact, of Muammar Gaddafi. Here in The Mirror, you can see it on The Guardian as well, death of a dictator. So it wasn't just the rolling news channels. Newspapers who had a lot more time to reflect on it also went with that picture.
And they went with it front page.
Absolutely. Now, you can see that some people are critical of that. There's a tweet here saying, good luck to parents trying to explain to their young children why pictures of a terrified man being beaten to death are on the front pages. I suppose people who don't understand that it's Muammar Gaddafi, and even people who do understand, I suppose they were still very violent, brutal pictures. And a lot of discussion of that, for example, in the Atlantic Wire here, they're trying to give the rationale of the cable news networks behind showing Gaddafi's corpse. And what they say is many argued that the reason was that many stories in the Middle East are very uncertain. Here you had an element of proof. It appears to be beyond a shadow of a doubt Muammar Gaddafi. That's what Fox News, for example, said. The photo that was initially shown, that AFP photo, appeared to corroborate the likeness to Gaddafi in the pictures that were shown on networks such as Al Jazeera. So this was the rationale behind networks showing these pictures, proof.
And indeed, for hours there, it was very uncertain. There was no formal confirmation.
Right.
And these pictures did partly serve that purpose.
Absolutely. And that's, I suppose, the argument that is being forwarded, especially seeing as the National Transitional Council was shown not always to be reliable. Indeed, there were articles going back to September saying, can we trust what they say? They tend to exaggerate information, or indeed to put out false information. Now, elsewhere, you see in the French newspaper 20 Minutes, that they're saying that an image, the more awkwardly it is shot, the less well it is taken, if it isn't well framed, etc., the more authentic it seems to be. I would say, too, that the gorier it appears, the more authentic it seems to be in the eye of the public. Now, these are the words of Michel Poivert. He's a history of photography professor here in France. So he points all of that out. But he does say you never see an American soldier on rolling news channels in this state. Where is the ethics in putting a photo like this out there? And for him, it's simply a political image.
Now, some are also pointing out we've entered a new era where it's impossible to censor, and there's no point censoring things that are already all over the internet.
That's right. Now, Jack Schaefer, who is a media, I suppose, columnist for Reuters, points this out. He says, look, in the age of internet, this is an outdated debate in TV newsrooms. You can access this information on social media and on the internet very,
Absolutely.
very easily.
And indeed, that AFP picture, the first time I saw it yesterday was on Twitter and not
Right.
on any cable news
Right.
channel. It would have been a little strange not to see it afterwards.
Absolutely. And I suppose, for anyone who is what would you say, who regularly uses the internet, it is an outmoded debate. Now, he compares it to the pointless acts of paternalism of a father who is trying to, who's trying to inflict discipline on his 24-year-old son who moved out 3 years ago. Just pointless, basically. And, it's an outdated debate for him.
Many headlines, or more reactions rather, are coming in after Muammar Gaddafi's death. We heard some pretty celebratory headlines and reactions yesterday, but some in Africa are much less so. In fact, some are mourning him.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you can see here in L'Intelligent d'Abidjan, this is an Ivorian newspaper, they speak about a horrible death. No mention of dictator, no mention of tyrant. You can see that across a number of different papers. This is Cameroon Voice. It's actually a radio station, but we have their website
and
here.
It salutes Gaddafi in that headline.
Absolutely. That's in Arabic. It's blessings upon you. And so very much a kind of, I suppose, mourning him in some respects. Here, this is Le Républicain, a newspaper in Mali, and they call him a martyr and far from not a coward. So quite extraordinary there. That's really laudatory stuff. And they say also that he died a hero. Let's have a look at this newspaper, The Nation, and also an African newspaper, I think it's from Niger. They point out that he paid for Gleaming Mosque in the capital of Niger, Niamey. He was the patron of the African Union and known in many African countries as the King of Kings.
The title he bestowed upon himself.
Well, right, but it was taken up by some elsewhere.
Out.
Absolutely, but they say he did shine the spotlight on Africa. So there you go. It's interesting to look at, I suppose, we've already seen a lot of the criticism. So here you have the opposite of that.
And one other main topic we're discussing today, and it is one of our top stories in the news, is editorial writers are divided, and not just editorial writers, also the UN, over just how Gaddafi was killed and whether it could have happened differently.
Right. Well, let's have a look at this article in the Herald Sun, an Australian paper. They're saying it's a double standard. He should have been sent by the rebels to the International Criminal Court to be tried for crimes against humanity, just as Milosevic was. The Tribune de Genève, for their part, say, well, you see pictures of a bloody and bloated corpse, you can't help but think of Ceausescu and Mussolini, other dictators, where the pictures were symbolically necessary to put an end to tyranny. So
right, but that remains an open debate and a strong one today. Thanks very much for that,
Thanks,
James
Donna.
Creedon. That was Media Watch France. Do stay with us. Web News is up next. We take a look at the top internet content of this Friday.